Good afternoon everyone, you have joined me today on a scouting mission. We are down by Elgol, but we're not here to shoot Elgol. We're here to hopefully find some interest along the coast. We'll soon find out. The conditions today are less than ideal, but what I have got is lots and lots of interesting clouds. It's not a flat blank canvas. So whether I'm shooting in colour or whether I'm shooting in black and white, we'll still find out. So my exploring didn't really get me anywhere. Been walking now for about 20 minutes or so, and this is what I've come to. But I have passed, I don't even know how many different possible compositions to shoot the mountains, the Black Coolins over at Elgol. But I'm gonna go up on top and walk a little bit further because I'm trying to find something to compose with the Isle of Rum out there. And there must be more flat sections, there must be. But the chances are that might be it. But time will tell. So I'm going to make my way up there behind me and yeah, see what I can find. But I'm going to lose a couple of layers before I do that, because my god, it is warm. Too warm to be wearing these layers. Anyway, I will see you at the top. I'm not going to photograph today, not this anyway, but have a little look at what I've just found. I had no idea this existed. Look at the size of that stack, and there's a cave just over there. Wow, that is pretty epic. God almighty, can't imagine what this looks like in a storm. Whew. Right, time to carry on round and see what I can find. What you discover when you go for a little walk off the beaten track. Wow, look at these cliffs on either side. And I'm hoping this little bit of coastline that I'm about to come down to will give me exactly what I'm looking for. Let's see what happens when we get to the other side. Now wait until you see what I've just found. You can probably tell what I found by the noise of my voice. A little bit of a echo. Nah, not enough. But this place reminds me of Arizona. Genuinely. The shapes, the colours are absolutely beautiful. Look at this. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Such a cool overhang. All of these colours in the rock, all worn out by the sea and the storms. At the moment, we're at low tide, so I can only imagine that this gets absolutely battered when the water's high. Like, absolutely battered. I feel like this might be my first composition. I'm going to see if I can get a vantage point where I can be at the back of the cave and shoot out towards the Isle of Rum over here, including this lovely green algae and these little pools. I think I'm going to have to go pretty far back into the cave. Right, let's see if I can make it. So I've got my camera all set up, and this image is going to be a little bit complicated, especially for the editing part. It's going to take bracketing, so I'll talk you through what that is in a minute, if you don't already know. And it's going to take a vertical panoramic to get the whole of the cave in. Now, if I had a lovely 16 to 35 mil wide angle, I could probably get it in the wanna. but with my 24-70, not a chance. But I'll talk you through what I've got and then settings. So on the back of my camera, I'm looking like this. Now, as you can probably see, it's on the right hand side, it's quite heavy. On the left hand side, there's not as much. And the water at the bottom is quite wide on the left hand side and not really a lot on the right. Now, the island isn't going to be truly centered due to the shape of this cave, which is a massive shame really. But I'm going to be doing a multiple brackets, so it's going to be like maybe a little bit darker than this, or probably about there, where I'm really starting to get the detail in the highlights outside of the cave. And then my other exposure will be overexposed slightly for the outside, but I'll have the detail inside the cave. And then when I get back to Photoshop, I'll be able to blend them together. Now, as I pan up, it's going to look like this. So this is what it's going to look like with my camera panned up. So now it's not as heavy on this side, but the top of the cave is central in the image, and I felt like that was more important than having this big chunk of rock here in the way. And as I lower my shutter speed, we'll start to see I'm getting that detail back, and that's going to be all the difference. Going to have the cave walls nice and bright, but also outside not too bright, and this is why I'm going to bracket it. Now, not all entry-level cameras can bracket, so what you can do if you don't have a bracketing function is you can personally drop your exposure down so you're getting the highlights not blown out, and then raise your exposure so then you can get the shadows in detail. And that's pretty much all bracketing is taking different exposures over different amounts of time to be able to create the highlights, to keep the highlights and boost the shadows. And then as you blend them together, you get almost a HDR effect. But if you don't use a HDR tool and you blend it in personally, like I will back at home, then you get a much better result. HDR is easy, but it's much better to be able to blend the images yourself using Photoshop. And I'm sure if you look on YouTube, you will find thousands of videos on how to blend multiple exposures. So for this composition, all I've put on the front is my polarizer on, and that's to try and cut off a bit of the glare off these cliff walls, off these cave walls, so I can get more detail because I want a richer color. And this is the end result of my bracketing. So you can see I've got the sky nice and dark, nothing blown out. Then I can go along one more, not really bright enough, but the final one, look at that, you can see how much detail I've managed to take out. So that's going to be absolutely perfect. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to pan down and I'm going to do this process again. And there we are. I've got the full of the panoramic with the different brackets. I'll take them home, blend them together, but here's the finished image now. I think there may be one more composition here. What a place. Imagine what this looks like when the water's coming in. For the second attempt at this composition, I've decided to move a little bit further back because I felt the first one I was really losing out on a lot of the detail within the cave, and I've managed to find a point where the cave is actually almost making the shape of a flame, which I think is a beautiful shape. So very similar settings as before. I'm focusing on the rocks just out at the edge of the water, as the island's so far away and it's not really much of a focal point. It's something that your eye is drawn towards, but it's not really standing out. There's too much cloud above it. But hopefully this will be a beautiful image. I'm going to pack up and I'm going to head further along the coast and see what else I can find. But this location I will be back to. I promise you that. I can only imagine what this looks like with evening glow hitting the sides of this cliff. Oh, incredible. And over winter, the sun would have been setting just over the old Isle of Rum. That would have been absolutely spectacular. But I didn't know it existed then. So I decided to sit down and have a little snack and a drink, and since I sat down and had a snack and a drink, the tide is coming, and it's coming fast. Where I once walked across the rocks, now I'm skipping across water, trying not to fall in. Whoa. Trying not to fall in as best as I can. I think if I'd spent another 10-15 minutes there, I'd be in trouble now, or at least getting wet feet. Anyway, I'll see you when I get to the other side. So, I think this is going to be the end of the vlog. It's probably a pretty short one. I've got at least 2 images that I like. That cave I will be back to, but the problem is with that cave, it needs to be a low tide. Now all the other features I've seen and I've really liked for compositions in the future, they're all going to be at a higher tide, so I think it's going to involve a lot of sitting around. But I want a low tide around sunset and not at 5 o'clock. It was 4 o'clock before, but 5 o'clock. But this section of the coastline is quite incredible. The focal point being the Isle of Rum, all the way out there, makes a brilliant focal point. It's dramatic, it's got mountains, and it always almost has its own little mini microclimate just above, which really creates, even when it's bright like this, some awesome conditions. But I will be back here for sure, and I hope you've enjoyed the vlog, and if you have, give me a thumbs up. If you want to hit that subscribe button, there is always going to be more content, and yeah, I hope you have a lovely weekend. See you next time.